All right. So this is going to be the debut of season 2 of My Side of the Fence. And as you can see, it's going to be video. The audio one will still circulate like it has previously, but we'll add video. This will end up on YouTube and whatever podcast platforms support video as well. So, and again, my first guest is Rich Meyer. Welcome to the show.
Wendy, it's great to be here. You know, we always have a good time hanging out, and I think we'll have a good time today.
Yeah.
There's so much to discuss locally, nationally, internationally. And, you know, I figured out we should, you know, the things you should never talk about, like religion and politics, I think we should dive in deeply. So, you know, you really, you got my attention the other day when you posted on Facebook about sort of becoming an independent.
Yeah.
And we can dive deeply into that, but I thought it was an interesting description that you gave it. Why do you feel you're now independent, whereas you weren't independent before?
You know, I would say that I've been an independent, or trending independent anyways, for several years. And, you know, I was and am kind of a stodgy, old school fiscal conservative. Now, my buddies in the Tea Party from back in the day might take issue with that description, but certainly in Manassas at the time, I was conservative, and the party elders considered me to be too conservative. Now, I don't think most of the people today would accuse me of that, but mostly it has to do with the absence of a serious approach to governance at several levels, at the local level and certainly the state level with this data center stuff, and at the federal level. There's not even a discussion around the deficit or healthcare, other than spending more money at the federal level, yet pulling more money out of healthcare at the federal level. Now, whatever you think of healthcare, government being involved in healthcare, I think everybody agrees we need a functional healthcare system. And for a lot of folks that don't have means, that doesn't exist here. So, long answer is, I feel like the party has drifted in a far more populist direction, and I can respect that, but you can't ignore $40 trillion in debt.
Certainly you can't. I really wonder what it means to be an independent. I think a lot of voters, if you ask them, are you a Republican or a Democrat? They, you know, some are, quote, registered, whatever that means.
Right.
You know, but I think a lot of people, certainly a lot of people would characterize themselves as more liberal or more right. And typically the Democratic Party is going to swing liberal and the Republican Party is going to, you know, swing right in general. And so, you know, there's certain exceptions. And I think you pointed out a couple of ways in which that's changed. But this very week on the radio, I just was hearing a lot about different people becoming independent. I think I read something in either the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. Certainly, you know, at one point or another, we vote in a couple of primaries, or in your case, you run for office, and once that happens, you know, there's a little R or D or something else. But you know, I could see more people becoming independents. Now, in terms of the people who run for office, there's, you know, you're losing whatever apparatus currently exists, but at the same time, you know, you can jump right into the race. You don't have to go through a primary.
Yeah, well, you know, I think what's happened is on the continuum of politics, liberal over here and conservative over here, it probably used to be 70% of the electorate identified as one or the other. Now, I might have just made that up, but I can tell you that, though, that percentage is shrinking as, the party primaries demand ever more conservative or liberal candidates who then run in the general election and try and, make nice with independents.
Right.
And you can see that causes problems. I mean, Spanberger is having those problems right now. She ran as her thing wasn't uniter or divider, but it was, I'm going to govern as a reasonable person. And she's just kind of made a hash of it, at least in my view. I like some of the stuff that she's done, but not very much. But that's what happens, and you run with like in Texas, Ken Paxton. He's been impeached. He cheated on his wife, and he's been involved. I don't know. I mean, he's just a mess. But he's the nominee for a pretty important job.
And Cornyn, and he had great seniority, and everything else, but he suffered from only voting with the president, was it 93% of the time?
Something like that.
But look, that's just how things are. I got it. Well, how about we'll stick on sort of a national thing first. The Iran deal that we haven't seen yet, or at least I haven't seen it.
I mean, so here's the thing. You have a classic mismatch in opponents. I don't think there's anybody better out there, maybe the Israelis, at dragging things out. The Iranians, they're just masters of it. And they've done it for 50 years. I just don't see how there's a clear mismatch between like them and Trump. Trump he decided, one day we're going to war with them. And we blew up a lot of stuff and killed a bunch of people. And then it all just kind of stopped and nothing's been happening. And now we have a 1.5-page memorandum of understanding with Iran because the Trump administration seems to be fed up with it. But, I got bad news for him. This is just the start. The Iranians are very good at this.
My view is, going back to the original bombing, I've got to say it, that when a country's been messing with us quite overtly for a long time, and really does say death to America.
They really did.
And they're developing what appears to be, material suitable for bombs. On balance, I could see the merit. And I saw the merit in blowing up those areas. And, then I sort of saw less merit as we went along. As a red-blooded American, there's parts of me that say, yeah, let's get them. But, that's the base of my brain thinking, not the front part.
Right.
So, the Strait of Hormuz was open before this whole thing started.
Yeah.
It's going to be open again, but only if we pay a bunch of money, or someone's paying a bunch of money. We don't really know who yet. And the nuclear issue is not resolved.
No.
Certainly we slowed them down and all this.
Yeah.
But it's not resolved. So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, so what did we accomplish? Okay, well, I don't want to talk about what we didn't accomplish. What did we accomplish? We certainly slowed down their program, right? And they know we mean business, whatever that means. I mean, look, we spent a lot of money and blew up a bunch of stuff. No one wants that, especially the ones getting bombed.
Right.
But, I don't know where it goes from here. I don't know what kind of inspections we're really going to be allowed to have. And there's a and this is really secondhand, there's some language in there, and I haven't seen it, so I may misstate it. I believe it says something like, notwithstanding anything else therein, each side recognizes the sovereignty of the other.
Yeah.
Well, once a sentence like that is in there, and something else says, but you can inspect, the other side can always come back and say, well, yeah, but you're doing it in such a way that is inconsistent with recognizing my sovereignty.
And like I said, the Iranians are masters of stuff like that.
Yes. So at best, we could have some, I guess we got to have some real inspections, however that's done. Seal up forever in 100 feet of concrete, whatever's down there.
Right.
But I mean, there needs to be, this is going to be a continuing thing. For anyone who says this is resolved,
No.
at best, what's resolved is we're not fighting at the moment,
Right.
which is,
That's okay.
That's okay,
Yeah.
except that we went in there to accomplish something, and it doesn't seem to me that we've accomplished it in the way we were trying to accomplish it. But
Well,
be that as it may.
look, I think where most Americans, I think, would agree with the notion that, you know what, the time had come. These guys have been screwing around for all of this stuff. They keep pushing us. They have these, third parties that they use to shoot missiles or rockets at Israel, and enough's enough.
Right.
I think where kind of like, the wheels fell off, where it became obvious we didn't have much of a plan beyond, we are just going to go in there and blow up as much shit as we can. We're going to kill the leadership, and we're going to do all these other things. And it was kind of like, okay, well, what was step two? And I don't get a sense that a lot of people felt like we were adequately prepared, especially the Gulf of Hormuz thing. Now, certainly, the Navy can take care of that. We have 2 carriers there at present. That's something they can handle. But
sure.
It seemed like after the blow it all up part, they were just kind of making it up as they went along.
Well, I'll tell you, even if it opens up completely tomorrow, because of the threat that continues to exist, because it's however unstable we thought it was, it's more unstable.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
So that means risk goes up, which means insurance costs go up big time. But, okay, so we beat that to death. Man, there was another international issue I wanted to discuss. Oh, no, more national. These guys who were arrested trying to attack in Washington,
Right.
apparently the night of the UFC event or something like that.
Right.
And I could care. I mean, the fact that there's this whole hoopla about whether the Secret Service and the FBI completely coordinated. Aside from all that,
Right.
what strikes me, and it's something we all need to remember, is the way we kind of describe ourselves in society these days is kind of like, well, there's people on the right and there's people on the left, and we feel real differently on policy, and even worse, maybe they think the world's flat, or that
Right.
we should become communists. But I got that. That's how we describe the differences. But this bunch apparently convinced themselves that they were going to shoot a bunch of people, which, as a result of which, there was going to be a complete societal upheaval.
Wow.
And there are people who think that when they do things like this, that it's going to cause everything to collapse. Now, they could be part of something bigger. I'd have no idea. Okay.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But it's just such, to say it's cloudy thinking is to say a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty generous.
I was really surprised. It's like, oh yeah, there are nutty people out there.
It's, I mean, the UFC thing, whatever you think of that. I mean, I don't mind watching some UFC, I don't love putting that giant crab thing in front of the White House, but whatever. It also doesn't. Um, I'm not on TV banging away about how horrible it is, but it is an attractive target. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
Even with whatever security they had there, and I'm sure it was lots. Uh, it's an attractive target. I haven't heard much about. I hadn't heard the bit about they want society to collapse and
No, not about the UFC fight. I'm talking about the people who were arrested.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't know what to think of that. There's crazies everywhere.
There's crazies out there. They really are out there. And those guys had a bunch of munitions and
did they?
had well, according to what's in the paper.
Right.
That's literally all I know. As far as the UFC being at the White House, that wouldn't have been my scene. That's not what I would advise doing.
Yeah.
But look, he likes the message. The president likes the message it sends, and there are a lot of UFC fans.
Yeah.
And from a political standpoint, he wants to feed his base, and I would assume I'm sure I know his base is wider than just the UFC fans.
Well, yeah.
But look,
Yeah.
and maybe he just wanted to be outrageous, and you know what? He is, and
It's what he loves.
right. So I can't, I can make fun of him for that, but that's not really, that doesn't do anything.
No.
The bad planning on some things, and all administrations plan poorly, but the stuff where they repainted the pool and now there's algae in it,
Right.
but that's, I don't, this can't be. I don't want it to be a bash anyone's session.
Well,
I just don't.
you're right. I mean, a lot of administrations do some things that are ill-advised. They make mistakes. It happens. The reflecting pool. I mean, even I think Obama took a run at it too, and was not entirely successful. So,
Right.
I don't feel like I need to beat up.
See, what was going to be is that the big arch, if that was built, that would cast a sufficient shadow on the reflecting pool, and then there wouldn't be algae. No, that's no.
Well, the
Anyway.
arch doesn't really bother. I think it's too big, but the idea of putting something there doesn't break me up either. But I think what a lot of people, including myself, it bugs me that like suddenly all of these approvals exist, and but I agree with the folks who are like, you can never get anything done in Washington because you got to go to 85 discrete bodies and get approvals for this, that, and the other. But suddenly we're just an arch that big is going to show up, and it took them 6 months to get it approved. That seems like it could use a little bit more due process.
Right, or something.
Something.
But I think when you have one of the president's greatest strengths is when he wants to get something done, he can get it done. A weak spot there is, if there's problems, no one wants to tell you there's a problem.
Right.
No one says we've got to fill this out or that out. And,
Right.
they run into sometimes embarrassing situations, but then it's just a question of do you care and all that.
Yeah. I mean, that is one of his greatest strengths. I mean, there was a story in his book, The Art of the Deal, from what was that, from the 80s or something? Or I read a story about him at some point, anyways, where New York City was trying to get that skating rink fixed. What is it, Rockefeller Center?
Woolman skating rink
Yeah.
in I think it was the Central Park one.
Maybe that was it. And the city had tried and failed some number of times. And Trump swooped in there and managed to get it done. And the reason he managed to get it done is the reason that anybody has been in business and is successful to get stuff done. And that's because you know a guy, and that guy and you do a lot of business. And you just pick up the phone and say, hey, I need to get this fixed.
Well, what we don't have to ask ourselves is whether we're voting for him again, because it's that will not be an opportunity.
No.
Some people think it might be, but I just don't.
I don't
see it. People from both sides.
Yeah.
You know.
I've heard them talk about it.
So on one side, people say, "Man, he's got a plan," and then the people on the other side say he's just going to take it all over.
What did you see?
So,
What's his name? The Raging Cajun, James Carville. I think
oh yeah,
I read an interview with him yesterday, and he said that Trump's going to walk away from the presidency by some point next year. Yeah, I think he's just trying to grab headlines with that kind of bull.
so moving more locally, I voted, as you know, both sides of the aisle locally. Heck, I've done it nationally too. And this year, I plan in the city council race to vote for people on different sides. But in my view, they earned it. It's so, as you know, it's been, people love to throw rocks at all types of officialdom.
Oh, sure.
Unless they really love the candidate, in which case they're pure.
They give them a pass.
Corroboration bias. But there's not a lot of people who run. I mean, first of all, the people who complain, and it's okay to complain. You don't have to run to complain.
No.
But at the same time, you're just getting regular citizens who are running. They're not experts. It'd be nice to say, well, man, we need some experts. But that supposedly that's what city staff is for. But when you follow the experts, then it's like, well, city council is just a rubber stamp for the experts. Well, I mean, there's a little bit of truth on all that.
This is very much a thing in local government. You
Right.
have local governments that are council led. Now, Manassas has a weak mayor, so the city
Well,
manager.
by that, the position itself is
right.
weak,
I'm
yes.
not criticizing the current mayor,
Right.
but the city manager runs the city. But you can have a council-led government, even though you have a weak mayor and the city manager is the operating officer, or you can have more staff directed. And when I was on the council, and this is not me just you kids get off my lawn. When I was on the council, it was very much a council-led sort of deal. Now, the council was always careful, and if we weren't, the mayor kind of slapped us around a little bit. The council was always careful to consult staff experts to get answers to certain things. Now, occasionally that didn't happen, and it caused some amount of consternation. But I think it's fair to say that probably most of the council members, by some of their own admission, are very much in the mode now of staff-led. So the staff brings forward plans or ideas or projects, and the council just says yay or nay. They ask questions, they kind of do their due diligence. I'm not crapping on all of them, but it is not the way that Manassas has operated previously. And I think that that's just kind of the nature of the thing. As you correctly identify, not a lot of people run. Let's be honest. If you're a Republican in Manassas, it's almost impossible to get elected. I think we have one current elected Republican?
Terry.
Yeah. So everyone else most of the electorate seems to vote straight ticket. And if you're on the Democratic ticket, you're mostly in. So, yeah, you do end up with people, just average citizens. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, when you have previously, when it was more council directed, it's not a mystery. We only had the Republican Party in Manassas. Now, a byproduct of that is the Republican Party nominated and elected several Democrats to the city council as Republicans. But the Republicans back then, I'm not affiliated with the party for several years now. I don't know what they do, but back then you had to go through a vetting process.
Right.
My dad was born and raised here. His dad was from this area. I was born and raised here. families here, started my business here, been on all kinds of boards, but the Republican committee that vetted nominees thought that I was maybe a little shaky.
I think that I don't want to see the council be all any one thing, right? And Terry at this point has really put her time in, I feel. And I also think she's been a terrific booster in terms of for being a booster for Manassas of the different people on the council. I mean, she's way up there. So, you know, and the Beef Festival that she's done.
That thing, I interviewed her last year, and she told me there's like 10,000 people or something.
Oh, there's a lot of people.
That's astonishing.
I personally like the message it sends about Manassas.
Yeah.
And it's an event that draws people from outside of Manassas.
It's unique.
And, yeah, it's a very unique thing. And she and her husband they're true believers in the pollinator thing. And so, you know, I just I'm glad she's running again.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to vote for Terry. I voted and supported her previously.
Right.
Some of the other folks that I think the Democrats still have to go through a primary because they have 4, I think. And what I haven't seen really anything from anybody is like, what's your platform? What are you running on? You know, are you gonna? Or is your focus schools, or is what are you running on? And I haven't seen much of that. Now, I have not gone looking, and I plan on trying to get some number of those folks in here.
Right.
But I have not seen a lot about platforms, and it's kind of early for that.
Right. Two people I have indicated that I'm going to vote for them are Jill Spall and Sarah Brescia. I've known both of them for a long time, and man, they work hard. And I want to see more good faith coordination, if that's the right word, between the council and the school board. I know it's difficult.
I tried it.
But I know. But so I think Jill, who's the current chair, I think she'll bring some good knowledge to the city council if she's elected. And Sarah Brescia, let me tell you, Sarah's on the money on a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
and she's real smart. You know, she went to Barnard, and
Yeah, I've had her on,
you know,
once or twice.
that's
think.
right.
Now, so I understand her politics, but Jill's politics, I don't know anything about. I don't know. The only stuff, I'll say this, the only stuff I've heard is second or third hand, and that's not fair to her. So
Right.
I would like very much for her to come on and talk about, you know, I mean, she's obviously passionate about the schools, right? But you're leaving the school board, which is responsible for running the schools, and you're going to the city council. So what does that mean? Have you like a change in priorities? Right? I mean, I just don't know.
Well, it seems to me, and she has not said this to me, all right? It seems to me that whether rightly or wrongly, at times the school board seems to view the council as a stumbling block. So
I don't know that I would disagree with that.
So if it's a stumbling block, let's see what we can do to minimize the stumbling block. And one way to do that is on the inside, you know.
I'll tell you, I tried to get, now this is like in what, 2010, something like that. I tried to get the council, well, I got a joint committee created, but you know, it went nowhere. And you know, I had personal relationships with several of the members of the school board.
Right.
And I just could not get anything moving. So good on her if she can get something done, but I can tell you that the relationship between the school board and the council and or the mayor is about as unique a relationship as you can find, because you know on the council side it's like, hey, we're here, we're going to give you this big pile of money to run the schools, and if the results aren't great, well, then the council, wants to pick up a stick and bang them on the head. And I understand that. I also understand at some level why the school board resents that. So it's tough. If you could get, and the research shows, if you're going to get better outcomes from your schools, both those elected bodies have to work together. And
That's what I want.
Yeah, maybe Joe could
that's
be
what
the
I
X
want.
factor there. I mean,
And I think that even if they've disagreed on some issues, which is fine,
yeah, that happens.
I think that she and Sarah, if they're both elected, they have an existing relationship and they can speak the same language,
Yeah.
So
Well, real quick though,
yeah,
the other problem with that is
yeah,
that Jill's going to be elected, if she's successful in the primary, to an entirely different body that works in an entirely different way, that has an entirely different set of responsibilities.
that's true.
And I think that makes it tough. It took me, and maybe I'm not very smart, but it took me about a year to dope out all that city council budget stuff. So that's
Well,
a challenge.
you're absolutely right. But she does bring some knowledge with her,
Oh,
as
no, she's
opposed
not.
to someone who hasn't been in her
Well,
position.
the school board has an enormous budget. It might be bigger than the city
Right.
council. So, and just by the way, like I've known Ed, her husband, since
Right.
1980 or something. So, and I've known her for a long time too. I mean, these people they're not strangers to me.
No, not at all. Not at all. So we have I guess I'd call it a somewhat unique candidate running this year, Colin Turner, who lives right on Portner and West.
Oh, does he?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know where he lived.
Yeah.
My impression
the gray house, part of one of those row houses. Yeah.
That's like a hotbed of activism over there.
Look, he's young. He hasn't served on any positions in the city. Okay. He got involved, to his credit, in the effort to save the Bennett School.
I saw that. Yeah.
Okay. And from my standpoint, and I told him this too, I said, you did a good organizing job. And it's not just, the job is way more than rallying the troops.
Oh yeah.
But he did a good organizing job. He a lot of people apparently on both sides of the aisle like him. Now that doesn't mean they're voting for him.
Well, right.
But they might vote for him. I thought he showed a lot there. Caitlin, my next door neighbor, who's a very talented communicator,
Yeah.
has been assisting him and had a kickoff party for him this past Saturday. That was very well attended.
Yeah.
And he's running, as you know, as an independent.
I saw that. Yeah.
And in my view, at least, he means it. I realize that when you run as an independent, you skip a primary, but I don't think that's why he's doing it. It seems that his mom and dad grew up. I mean, he grew up with a mother and father who voted in two different ways.
Yeah, so did I.
So, I like the fact that he lives in Old Town and he seems to conduct himself very well. So I'm not sold yet, but I do think well of him.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the stuff that I've seen on Facebook, and that's the only stuff I've seen.
Right.
He seems like a smart guy who has, a good approach to the whole matter. Again, I want to see what I think he talked something in that speech that I saw about like transparency or something.
Right.
And that's great, but Manassas needs more than that right now.
Right. There is also, I think, some things I guess could be more transparent, but if you dig, you can find your answer to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like how to get on committees and all these different things. It's not hidden, but I appreciate how it can sound. It could seem hidden. Let's talk energy. Let's first talk about the Prince. This is so if you have, if there's one or two people watching, the good people out there, they can now get their friends because we did talk about a little bit about energy and Manassas and data centers. I know people love data centers here.
They're very popular.
Especially the folks who live around the battlefield. But first, let's just talk about a little bit about energy locally, specifically regarding the Prince William Power Station. That's not the one, that we had to replace by Battery Heights. It's unrelated to that.
Is that still a temporary replacement? Are they building a new one?
Well, it ended up being easier to just buy the temporary one and have it, because if one goes down, but initially it was only going to be, we're just going to lease it for a while.
Yeah.
In any event, so there's been 2 pretty good blackouts at that station that affected a number of people in Old Town.
Mm-hmm.
And I could very snarkily add that because I have a Generac at my house, that cost me $11,000. My power didn't go out, but
Right.
But I'm not suggesting that everyone should or could do something like that. So when the first time it happened, and I can't remember at this point whether it was an hour or not, but when those things happen, the various city officials get noticed, and at some point you know exactly how many minutes was out, sort of multiplied by how many households were affected, and they know that businesses get all fouled up. They can't use their credit card machines. Anyway, so it's a big deal when that happens. So naturally, I was real interested in why did this happen?
Right.
So, I got a quick answer first. The quick answer I got was after they studied it, after they initially looked at it. Like they sent the guys out there and the gals, and they all checked it out, and we're doing dangerous things. And the initial answer was, we don't know why this happened. So I felt, I like the truth, but let's find out a little more. So I was looking forward to the next utility commission meeting. And the afternoon of the next utility meeting, which was last Thursday,
right,
that station went down again. So they went out there and they perform as they explained. So we got them to explain both things. And I said, can't remember, it was 5 or 6 different things that went wrong, that could go wrong. And they described, and this is in an open meeting, all right? And people want to hear about this stuff, they come to the meeting.
Right.
It's completely open. And they said, we went through the protocol to figure out what was wrong. None of those things showed up, all right? There's one thing that you can't check, apparently, without causing all kinds of havoc.
Right.
But they don't believe it's that. There's a good chance it's something that happened on Dominion's line that caused our station to shut down, or whatever you want to say it happened.
Right.
Okay, so I know that the utility department is really engaging with Dominion to find out, look, what kind of blips showed up, on your screens and all that. And I'm sorry to say that as of the other day, they weren't getting the best.
Dominion's not going to help us.
Well, no, they don't need to help us, but usually utilities will coordinate on things like that, especially when they're seeking to merge. They don't want anything to come up in a regulatory proceeding that, that they haven't been communicating or any of this stuff. But that's about the best you can do. But you can raise it,
Do you know,
if you
the number
want.
one contributor to state races, House and Senate?
What? Oh, right. And once they're merging with Nextera, who's way bigger,
we'll get nothing.
Yeah, this is the largest utility merger ever in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Previously, I was involved in one that I fought some years ago, but in any event,
I think that the problem that the residents have is not that it's an hour or it's 5 minutes. Yeah, I can sit in the dark for a half an hour. I don't care. But it is, the frequency is frustrating. To the point where, like, for all of my AV stuff, I now have 2 battery backups.
Right.
Because some of it got damaged in
Right.
one of the outages. And, it cost me some money. And then the businesses, you mentioned them. It's not just the restaurants. There are attorney offices and other experts in the Old Town footprint.
Right.
And, some number of those are customers of my computer consulting business. And, when that goes down and it stays down long enough, over the weekend or whatever, the battery backup shut down all the servers. And then Monday morning for us is a free for all.
You're absolutely right.
And everyone understands if there's a thunderstorm, right?
Well,
we get that.
I've asked, and it's in the document someplace, in minutes, whatever. But I've asked for, and you want to accumulate it over time, but I've asked for, and the board asked for, the commission asked for, a sort of, I'll call it a spreadsheet of, how many blackouts we've been having over the last couple of years by month, and how many customers are affected. Right. And the numbers have been pretty good, especially when you take out the one that was hit by lightning that we were just discussing, by Battery Heights. I'm not bragging about the numbers. It's not my place to brag about anything. But I'm just saying that the numbers were surprisingly good, and compared to other jurisdictions, we're definitely right in the ballpark, or at least that's what I recall. At the same time, being in the ballpark and all that doesn't mean we can't try to be better. So sure. the utility commission, the staff, and it'll be ultimately it'll involve the council some, but there's going to be a real reliability study done by a third party that comes in and go, okay, look, this is what you got. These are different possibilities. How much do you want to spend? At least that's what I'd like to see come out of this. And then, everyone can talk about it. How good do we want it to be?
Yeah, well, I mean, nothing's perfect, right? But I run a service business. The utilities are a service business, basically. And I'm very familiar with the idea that, like, we called you guys 2 weeks ago for this printer and we're having problems with it again. And, when I go back and look at the service tickets, well, no. That's not what happened. It was a separate problem, but it looks like this problem. And now suddenly we're the problem. I get that.
Another having to do with energy, although we'll come back to electricity, or having to do with public services, is Lake Manassas. Do you know you probably do know, I don't know if our friends know, Lake Manassas holds 5 billion gallons.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Right? And right now it's pretty much at capacity. It has what was called a bladder that was added some years ago, so it could hold a few million others, but capacity there is viewed as something like 590 inches, and we're at 88 inches. And, 588.
Right.
And then recently I got it at the same public meeting. They were talking about what kind of drought restrictions there could be. I don't mean that we're expecting them, but just what are the protocols, what are voluntary, what couldn't be. But we're in really, really good shape there. What I'd like to know is I know that uh, Prince William owns a percentage of the capacity from the lake. They
Could
do.
be, yeah.
They do. And I think I'm using the right words. And that was done several years ago. There's one or two people, if they could have voted again, they might have voted differently. But, that's 2020 hindsight. You do the best you can. And Manassas was going to get some real money out of that. And they have.
Well, they need it.
The question.
They keep buying real estate.
But, we can get there too. But what I don't know about is, and I should find out, I'd like to find out, is if Prince William ever goes over that capacity, what kind of charge is there? Does suddenly the amount go up? Are there penalties? Is it on a 3-month rolling average? I think I want to find that out, because
I don't know. I don't know the specifics of that deal. I'm not sure. I would say that sort of deal is not something that I would have loved, but I will also say that these things get very complicated. And
sure,
when I was on the council, we were jammed up with UOSA, the people that treat all the sewage that comes out of the city.
right.
Because
And I sit on the UOSA board.
Right. But we were way over capacity in what we were sending there.
Right.
And so we ended up buying like 1 million gallons a day from Fairfax or something, and it cost us like $6 million. And I'm just sitting in this meeting going, "You're kidding me!"
Right.
But so I'm not going to criticize that council too much.
Oh no, I'm not criticizing them. I'm
just me. But who the hell knows what was going on, right?
Right. No, the person who told me I respect a great deal, and they said, man, if they could do it over again, they'd really reconsider. But that time's past.
It's hard to tell sometimes, and those are areas where you do rely on your staff experts. There's not a council member who's an expert in waste management and UOSA and all this. That person doesn't exist.
Especially when the city I don't know what the amount was, but if the amount was 20 million or 100, I have no idea. The city typically doesn't turn down things like that, especially back then. But it's sometimes we get into a little bumping match with Prince William. Now, Prince William's bigger than us. They have more money, all this other business. But you think about the Bennett School. Now, I don't know how much we want to save that or not. I don't want to get into that. But it's not just a question of do they have the right to tear it down or not? It's also a question of, let's look at our arrangements beyond who owns the Bennett School. Are we being treated fairly on the water? Now, maybe we are, but I just think that a holistic, it's always good to know where all the different areas of agreement are and areas of disagreement. Only then can you have a meaningful discussion.
You got to be, I'll put it this way. When I was on the city council, we were going to have our charter amended, which means that you have to send it down to Richmond to the General Assembly. And I guess it probably starts in committee somewhere, and they can opt to accept or reject your charter amendment. What they can also do is put other stuff in your charter that you didn't ask for.
Yeah, you don't want certain things you don't want to open up.
And that, I think, is, in my experience, that dealing with the county, again, this was 10, 15 years ago, you had to proceed carefully because they do carry a much bigger stick than we do.
They do.
At some point, we were raising hell about what was going on over at the courthouse there, and we started hearing echoes that, well, maybe the county, instead of building there, wanted to build down in the other end of the county.
Right.
And that's not what we want either. So,
Hey, you see the fence around the old school that became the Prince William? I guess that's getting ready to be knocked down.
yeah,
Otherwise, why do you put a fence around it?
around the Bennett School.
No. The building that's painted white.
Oh, that was my 5th grade school.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that the other day.
So
it's very disappointing.
man,
There's nothing historical about that.
no, there
building.
isn't. I wish they'd also take down that evidence building.
Well,
And
that was the circuit court building originally, and it's an eyesore. Yeah,
holy mackerel. Well,
yeah.
that's unbelievable. So,
My dad went to Bennett.
I know.
I don't know that you're going to have much. We're going to get much traction with the county on saving that. It's plunk in the middle of what they're trying to do.
It's plunked in the middle. Look, at best, I think it's going to be. They could have a little. They could save a couple of those
Giant sandstones.
The
columns.
The columns.
Yeah.
Incorporate them somehow, or have some kind of. Otherwise one can see, and I'm sure it's already been said. Manassas, you want it saved? Just give us the money to save it. What do I like it? I kind of like the building.
Yeah.
Because, it's a block from my house and I kind of like that stuff.
It's a
the
cool
older
building.
buildings. Yeah.
But I mean, I think, I don't know, I've noodled. I mean, I don't even have any idea what it would cost, but like moving it. But where the hell would you put it?
Well, who's paying for it anyway? That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Or at least I don't see it happening.
No.
Okay. Data centers for a moment. So, well, maybe more than a moment. As soon as that blackout happened, and when Prince William was down, it's the data centers. To everyone's knowledge, it had nothing to do with the data centers. Plus, we don't serve the data centers, right? They get served directly by Dominion.
Right.
It's nothing new to say that people want everything. They just want everything. They want a big house and by everyone, I mean me too. Right? I want a big house. My house is only 2,000 square feet, but
so
I want
less than that.
People want a big house, and they want it cold in the summer. They want it warm in the winter, and they want to have several TVs connected to the internet and all this other stuff. And we got the phones, and
right,
and we use we're using AI stuff for everything.
Everything.
You want to put an animal head on your body.
Done.
Create it.
Yeah.
Who cares if it? Well, that all uses juice.
Oh yeah.
What you don't hear people talking about is we don't want data centers. We're going to start using less. No. That's like Jimmy Carter reminding people correctly that put on a sweater, turn down your thermostat. Well, that cost him, among other things. That was really used against him. So anyway, that's number one. Number two, the conflicts are the political conflicts.
Oh.
And I'm not even talking about who wants it in their backyard. I'm talking about the president, and I think most presidents would say, charge ahead. We need to be ahead of this AI curve. We can't let China or some other friendly country get ahead of us, and that's I understand that. And then they say, well, I'm telling all the agencies to hurry it up. But all those agencies, like FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, they operate under statutes. There's only certain things they can do. So what FERC has, so PJM, in response to something that I'll try not to get to, Weeby, right?
PJM for us just means
listen,
the grid.
if I get too weird for you, just look at my legs and entertain yourself for a while. And I apologize for not shaving. All right. The grid operator for 13 states, PJM, they have filed, I believe it would be called a new tariff at FERC that has to do with large loads. Now, I don't know. No, no. See,
It's a family show.
it's a family show. So, and it has to do with how your large load, but everyone knows it means data center, but it
Yeah.
could apply to any large load.
Right.
How a large load can get a leg up on the what it's called the interconnection queue, like to be considered and all this,
Right.
if it has its own standby generation. All right. Usually that means on site,
Right.
but uh, and if it's willing to allow itself to be curtailed
Yeah.
from, regular service so that the public doesn't get curtailed. All right. So, I mean, I have no idea if this stuff's going to work, but that's where it is. I know that the projections of energy use,
They're unbelievable.
we are nowhere close.
No, I think that, I mean, in as much as the the city had some electrical problem, or maybe, it came from outside of our little web, from Dominion. I do think it's fair to say that, especially the people that are operating at a larger scale, are still learning. You kind of ask yourself, well, we're having a lot of electrical problems. What changed? And we added a ton of data centers. So, okay, we're figuring it out. But I do think, I mean, I understand FERC and stuff like that. You and I have talked about that a fair amount. But the thing that I wish I saw more of, and maybe it's just not written about a lot, is nuclear energy. There's all of these, new technologies. I think Gates is involved in one of them, and there's a couple of others, but that's the answer. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying solar is bad. I'm not saying wind is bad. I don't mind either one of them. But nuclear energy at, utility scale, that's the answer, it seems like to me.
Well, who's going to invest in it? Who's going to invest in it? Unless you're going to make a return, and let's say it's going to cost 30 or 40 billion.
Yeah.
We're not saying the government needs to build them, because then you're generating electricity in competition with the whole private sector.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, it's great, but who's going to do it?
Well, but there's so much money in the data center sector, so much money that you think they could work together, maybe not, and say, guys, look, I don't know what the queue is for being connected to the grid right now, but I know it's not zero.
Oh no, it's real long. And number one, we're not going to have enough generation.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, we absolutely don't have enough transmission, because transmission is what takes, the electricity from wherever. Now, each state, and in many instances localities, have their own rules as to whether transmission can be built.
Right.
Unlike a federal highway or a natural gas pipeline, that makes it incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
So now, instead of dealing, because of, you have to deal with all these different jurisdictions, right? Typically with a generator, that's one jurisdiction, among other things.
Right.
But if one jurisdiction holds out, that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, we're really.
I mean, that could be.
I'm not saying the lights are going out, but I am saying that I don't see how prices don't go up. I know, quote, we don't want data centers near us. We don't want data centers that cause problems, but we're screaming for what data centers do.
We are. And, where it all started, of course, is Ashburn. Right. And I think it's fair to say that Prince William County has done a less than stellar job of siting some of those data centers. Right up against residential neighborhoods. I think the city, to their credit, have done a pretty good job, putting them in industrial areas. where you don't have a lot of citizens. So I think that's fair to say. But data centers aren't going away.
So I know I'm not dying to see data centers
Yeah.
as I drive down 28 immediately over the bridge, right?
But that's what's going to happen.
But, well, number one, Micron's already on one side of it.
It's
and
not
you know
like
what?
that is
We
great.
thank God that Micron's there
We do.
for a whole host of reasons.
It's not exactly attractive, but I'm with you. I think it's a great business.
And if an area is already zoned, okay, so let's say it wouldn't be data centers. Okay, then how about if it was a plastic factory and, several other things, or yet another used car lot? I mean, either you have zoning, you don't, and either allows certain things or it doesn't, and either people build near there and live near there, knowing that it's zoned for a certain thing.
Well, and data centers, I mean, local governments love them because there's so much tax revenue. Well, unless you get a bank involved, but
right.
But you get so much tax revenue. I don't remember what the figure is for Loudoun County, but it's like, I don't know, somewhere pushing 50% of their budget is data center revenue. That's unbelievable to me. So I think if the city had an opportunity to add a couple more, I'd be shocked if that didn't go through.
Oh, I would think so. I would. I don't know.
Well, people might raise hell about it, but I still think it would go through.
I mean, if it's zoned for it and everything else, I don't see. I know. Look, it's shocking when you're used to looking at green.
Yeah.
And now you're not looking at green. Well, you're looking at green because no one else wanted to build there. It's not that the city decided that's parkland.
Right.
It wasn't parkland. And
and the office market is kind of screwed up. In the bigger cities, people are converting office space to rental units, apartments. I don't see, other than where like the city is involved, I don't see a lot of apartments being built. This thing out here where the DMV used to be, that's going to be affordable housing of some sort, and I think that's crazy because there's no, if you're building stuff like that, you want transit around it, you want like stuff you can walk to, there's none of that out there.
Right.
I guess you could walk to the airport, and the city is heavily involved in getting that stuff built.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't love the idea.
I guess I saw it in the last 24 hours. It was on Facebook.
Yeah.
Some architectural, I don't even want to call them renderings.
Oh, on the MIFCO property.
Sort of placeholders, and
let's hope it's placeholders.
Yeah. I mean, it was shocking again to see those massive structures.
Yeah.
But again, who's going to buy it and build something unless it makes financial sense?
Well, my only concern, I don't love the way they look. They look like those apartments or townhouses that are out near the airport.
Right.
And I think that's fine for the airport.
Yep.
I think in the city center, I have a different expectation, but my main concern is the taxpayers. How much taxpayer money is going to be involved in getting that stuff built? That and the giant parking lot that is supposed to be a hotel at some point. But are the citizens paying to build? What are we paying to build?
Right.
What are we giving them the dirt? I mean, and I'm not saying this in a critical way, but I want the taxpayers' interest to be looked after. That's all.
Of course. Right. I want my taxes to be looked at.
Yeah.
And that's what everyone, because we want an operating city.
Yeah.
That willingness, and we want that balance. That's what you always said. You said something where I want to pay the least taxes. I don't care if there's grass growing up in the street and everything else. But
I just the taxes they go ever upwards.
Yeah.
And we hear a lot about affordability and stuff like this, and affordability. I mean, some of those lots in Old Town, those people are paying $1,000 a month in property taxes. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that is. I want to talk about food for a second.
I'm down.
Listen, man, uh, I'm down with La Chofita.
What is that?
That's the food truck right by
Oh
the
yeah,
police
that
department.
place is fantastic.
Man, I really like it. I mean, I just really, really like it. So,
Well, there's right up the street from my office is La China.
yes,
I love that place. I love the little place, the food truck next to the police station.
yep,
I love La Jarajita. And to the point where I was talking to somebody, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they started talking to me about, redeveloping and gentrifying that shopping
right,
area. I was horrified.
right,
To me, like this is a valuable part of the community.
right,
There's a little store in the back of the pizza place and
right.
all that. No, we have to keep that.
100%.
Yeah.
I want color. I want all different kinds of stuff. I think, we're not going to have, or I guess we could argue that we have, 2 or 3 white collar, a white tablecloth
Yeah.
restaurants,
Sure.
but we could have great, and we already have some really good ones. We could have great, even better, I say Mexican food, because that's the favorite one I have, as opposed to Guatemalan. Nothing wrong with that,
well,
but
I
love
funny,
Mexican food.
People will say like, "Well, what kind of Central American restaurants are there in Manassas?"
Right.
And I just say, "Yes."
Yes, we got it, and we could have, great. We already have some pretty good Vietnamese places
We do.
for pho, or pho, but I can't. It makes me
Pho.
feel funny to say.
Yeah,
that.
I don't
like
like
saying
that.
that.
My daughter always corrects me, but I stay with the old.
I'll even if no one's around, I say it in front of a mirror, and I disgust myself. So, very last one I think is wine. The wine market has really slowed down.
Yeah.
Not that, forget about tariffs and all that. Apparently, according to the marketing studies, that the young people just aren't drinking a bunch of wine. And
Or beer.
So the wine prices are actually down. And I think that, the people who, they don't quite rebottle. I mean, they buy it in tanks or whatever, and that they put it in their own bottle, like Dana Gose.
Yeah.
And then there's another one I'm just drawing a blank on. My guess is that they'll probably get some pretty good juice, because people aren't going to sell it cheap under their own regular label.
No.
So
I've been buying some amount of wine. I don't drink nearly as much wine as I used to, but from Last Bottle.
Yep, that's right.
They have some pretty good wines on there. It tends to be a little repetitive, and I like WTSO as well. Wine's still sold out, but some of their stuff is a little more esoteric and difficult to like quickly research.
I get I get all the notices from Last Bottle.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I mean, you got to act fast.
You do.
But I've gotten a couple of real good bottles. It's not the problem with someone who doesn't know a lot about wine. When you read the description, whoever's writing that stuff, it's a great writer.
Good. Yeah.
It sounds, man, this is the Ferrari of wine. You need to buy this, and it's 80% off.
Right.
So there's a little of that, but I think in general you're getting good prices, and every once in a while you can really hit one.
You can. I bought during their last marathon. I bought like the mystery box or whatever.
Yeah.
I think there's 6 bottles in it.
Yeah.
6 bangers. Every one of those
Really?
wines was good. Yeah, it's fantastic, man.
Yeah, I'm not buying. I don't want surprises.
Well, it was not all that expensive, and I thought,
no, why not?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Now, there's 2 things we haven't done. Well, there's one thing we have to do that we have done. We need to do it again soon. That's have some of what we're talking about, which is wine.
Yeah.
And if you have anything left over, that one that's been in the cask, that we're talking about, that bourbon.
I have just a little bit, and I'm happy to bring it over.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I have it, and I still have some of the White Dog left, which is fermented but unaged whiskey, and then stuff that went into a cask. Of course, I didn't do it, and I wasn't affiliated with it, and I don't know how it happened.
A quick shout out to Mitch and Simone on the fantastic job they've done with that house and the old church.
So I worked.
Great job.
My dad owned the building in between those two since about 1978. And I subsequently bought it, and my practice was in that building. And then she bought the house from the church, and she started renovating it. And Miss Simone, they do great work. They really do. But that's on the route that I run most days.
Right.
And so it was my exposure to it was very incremental, and I really didn't love it. I really didn't. And then last week I went by there, and I hadn't seen it in about a month. Damn, it's magnificent.
Oh, it really
really
great.
is.
They've done a great job.
They have. Well, they redid the house down across the street from where I live, down in Beauregard. And
oh, yes.
They turned it from this basically a brick box into a fantastic looking house.
That's where Simone's mom and dad were living. He passed, and the mom has just moved into
the place
the
up
other
on
house,
West,
right?
yeah.
No, so shout out to them. I just want to give a couple of shout outs. Shout out to the cattlemen. I was going to talk about what the cattlemen really are and our secrets.
All right, we're done.
Okay.
Well, no, we don't have any secrets, really.
But there's a lot of good people in town doing good things. But
yeah. Well, the cattlemen, the main question you get with the cattlemen is, what is with cattlemen? There aren't any cattle, and our response is, then we've been successful.
That's never occurred to me before. That's Mark Olson, who he does a lot of stuff. Man, he gets the streets cleaned up after First Friday, and
he doesn't screw around.
All this stuff. And just a shout out to him and just a whole bunch of other people. There's a lot of good people in town.
There are, and there's a lot of people they're familiar faces to people that have been around a while.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, that thing just started off as a way to grab a cup of coffee and shoot the breeze. And
right.
I mean, the discussions that we have there, I mean, I don't go frequently because I'm out of town, but they can get deep because we do have subject matter experts on.
They get deep in a number of ways, but they get deep in good ways too. And also our churches seem to be doing pretty well right now in town.
Yeah. Well, isn't the old restaurant going to be a church? It was a church originally, and then it was
you're talking about the Presbyterian church on the corner? Yeah, there was something called, I don't know if it's called Fruit of the Vine. I was thinking, man, it was going to be a wine place, but then I looked it up, and it was a church, but I haven't heard anything about it at all. So, hey, look, Andy, I'm glad we did this.
Well, hold on a minute.
Oh, no, please.
I'm ready.
I like answering questions. Yeah.
I want to go back to food.
I'm ready.
I had an opportunity down at the beach. There's an independent grocer, and you can get them. You can get this at other places, but you can get them to cut specific meat for you. And we had some short ribs, some beef short ribs, and we tried to cook them sous vide, I think 24 hours, and it was at a somewhat higher temperature. Rendered a ton of fat, put them in the pan. The pan's basically as hot as the surface of the sun, and it was pretty good. With the rendered fat, it made it, a sauce and all that fun and games. It was pretty good. I mean, everyone went away from the table happy. But then I ran across this Robert Keller recipe. Now, he's maybe the most famous chef in America currently, and has been for some amount of time, right? Mm-hmm. He does Per Se in New York, and then what's his restaurant in California?
Don't remember. But he's great. He's great.
He's fancy. He had put together a 48-hour short rib sous vide recipe.
Really?
And I went and for you guys that have seen my sous vide recipes, a lot of times I'll just plunk it in a Ziploc because it's only going to be in there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. I figured for 48 hours, I needed to get a silicone bag. And I, just salt and peppered them. uh, put them into the bag, fired up the sous vide, and let it go for 48 hours. And I was shocked when I pulled them out, there was almost no rendered fat. Now, short ribs have a ton of fat. There's almost no rendered fat at all. And it's because it wasn't hot enough, the water wasn't hot enough to render the fat, but it did break down all of the collagen and everything.
So it didn't run out.
It didn't run out. It stayed in the meat. And predictably, this was just incredible. It really was.
Any herbs in the sous vide?
Yeah, I think I put some thyme in there, and that was about it. Nothing too much. But searing them can be difficult because it's not difficult. The one thing you have to watch out for is since there's still so much fat in the meat, when you plunk it down to sear it, even if you don't do it much long,
Right.
it renders immediately.
Oh, I believe
And
that.
so after like 3 or 4 ribs, if you don't pour the fat off, you end up frying it,
Right.
which gives almost no color to the fat.
Right. Right.
So that's been, I'm like you. You went through your pizza phase and several other phases. At what do you have a phase now?
So am I in a food phase right now? Probably not. I was doing a bunch of focaccia. That was fantastic.
I remember that.
Then, I'm throwing, I started fermenting some big thing of pickles the other day. So I have them in the refrigerator from like 6 months all the way up to the present time, different.
Well, the 6
different
months,
stages.
those are going to be pretty sour, aren't they?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I'll tell you what, my favorite cast iron pan is, the biggest anyone normally has is 12 inches. That's considered a big cast iron.
That's a big pan.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Not as heavy as the 15-inch one. And if you calculate the
surface area
using pi and whatever that other stuff is, that's a big ass pan.
That is a pan.
It is a great, great, great pan because you can put stuff, you can just cook something in the middle, or you can put 6 things in there and they're not crowded.
Right.
So, boy, when I crank that sucker up, there's smoke coming out of the side of my house from my exhaust fan. But that's, man, I use cast iron every other day.
Is that right?
Yeah, I really love it. But I mean, I use carbon steel. I do all kinds of junk.
Carbon steel I like. It's light. The big problem can be, getting it properly coated and treated and seasoned and.
You got to know what you're doing, but you know what you're doing. I guess the only other cooking utensil that I've accumulated over the last couple of years is a couple of copper pans. Now,
I don't think I've ever used that.
Yeah, and I'm not using the copper fry pan.
Right.
The copper, because I feel I get good enough use out of my other stuff.
Right.
Which is either the heavy cast iron or just stainless, like a big all-clad thing. But so the copper fry pans or saute pans, you might call them, the best ones are lined with tin. Yeah, for sure. The very best ones are actually lined with silver, but they are.
Yeah,
no one's affording those. No one even knows about that. But the standard ones are tin, and it scratches easily. And if you use too high of a temperature on it, you can damage it. Even if you're taking care of it, if you use it with any regularity, you're going to have to get it retinned every couple of years. So I'm not jacking with that.
Wow.
But I bought this off of eBay.
Yeah.
Right. Morviel.
Yeah.
Is the brand, and they have several different layers.
Sure.
And I just happen to like the one. I like the look of the one that has a cast iron handle, and then it's it's 2 millimeters thick, either 2 or 2.5, the whole coating.
Damn,
And I'll tell you, there's ones that look the same, but they're only like a millimeter or a cent. I don't know if it's millimeters or centimeters, but you know what I'm talking about.
well, if it's
How
European,
thick the
it's
copper
millimeters.
is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got a couple of those, and I'll tell you, man, if I just need to do something quickly. Boy, that heats up and cools down like
Copper,
that.
yeah, transmit heat.
It's
That's
fantastic.
the
Now
name
they're
of the game.
stainless steel lined, but
Yeah.
I'm real good with it. I've been very, very happy. You know, this is a confession. I'm not bragging. It makes me feel good when I use those.
Well,
But, that's my fault, right?
I was early on buying, the expensive pans and
Right.
all of that crap, and then I participated in a cooking contest over there at Okra's.
I remember that.
Yeah, and they had this brand of nonstick pans that are like $39, and they're ridiculously good.
Yeah, not Hex, could have been Hexclad,
No,
but
it's
just
not
the
Hexclad.
Tramontina.
Yeah, Tramontina.
Tramontina. Yeah, they get great reviews. And what you do is after they get all scratched up, because
Sure.
if it's non-stick, you shouldn't use the metal.
No.
But
Throw it in the recycle
so
bin.
you throw them out and you get another one.
They're aluminum. I mean, I buy that. That's the only nonstick pan. And trust me, I bought an all-clad nonstick that was, $250 or whatever.
Right.
And they did replace it, but it just sits in the kitchen, because that Tramontina pan is fantastic and it lasts well. You got to look after it,
Right.
but it lasts really well. And my other favorite pan is a $45 carbon steel.
Oh, sure.
It's just a workhorse. Of course, the other one, my probably third pan I use is Chef's pan, all clad.
Yeah, I love that pan. That was the first all-clad pan I ever bought. It's when I went up to New York to reconnect with Ann at the gallery she had down in Soho,
Right.
and I went down the street because they had all kinds of cool cooking stuff there. I mean, it was already Tony, but it was less Tony then.
Right.
And that's when I picked up that pan. And I have beaten the hell out of it.
Oh, it's a warhorse.
I just beaten the crap out of it, and it's just
a Chef's
as good
pan
as
just
new.
has a little bit higher sides.
well, it's like a wok, but the center
it's
of
like
it
a
is
wok.
not completely round.
Right.
It flattens out at the bottom,
It's
so it'll sit.
fantastic for tossing pasta, stuff like that. When you're finishing pasta in the sauce, it's just incredible. It's not for me, it's not a day-to-day sort of deal.
Right.
That's going to be Tramontina or the carbon steel pans. But the other thing I got as a gift last year for my family was a Blackstone, a griddle.
Right. I remember when you got that. You were worried about rusting and all this business.
It's a fact. I mean, down at the beach, there's enough salt in the water down there that it does corrode stuff. Not as bad as the seashore, but
Right.
you can't just put it like in an unconditioned shed, because I did, and it rusted. So you have to clean it up and then, season it, and then the top comes off easily.
Right.
And I put that inside the house, and the rest of it goes off into the shed. But, it's just like cooking on that thing is a joy, because you have like these two spatulas, it's like what you see at Waffle House.
Right.
You're doing this sort of deal, and you can cook a mountain of food on that thing.
You mentioned, cooking burgers or whatever on that thing. So there is something that I started doing, and it's so elementary. I'm ashamed to bring it up, but for years, I love burgers.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I love the burgers at I love those burgers at Foster's Grill. I just think they're great burgers.
I like them, but I always order them like not all that charred.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't want them to cook. I like medium rare.
Well,
at
right,
most.
but like the char burger is their thing.
Right.
But I'm with you. Yeah.
So, anyway, the burgers I cook at home, I don't know. I know how to cook. I was just not getting the results I wanted all these years, and that means 76 years, right?
Right.
So, recently I was reading about, they're not new to me, but I was reading about smash burgers.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing now. When I want a burger at home, first of all, it's going to cook in 2 minutes max.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the burger better, and I'm eating less meat because if I'm cooking quote a burger, you know, for lunch, it's still going to be a half pound. You know, I mean, it's not going to be less than a quarter pound,
Right.
but it could be up to let's say 6 ounces. Okay, I don't really need to be doing that at lunch. I know on
No.
screen I appear very, real skinny,
Right.
but it's not a great thing. So with the smash burgers, the perfect size or the perfect weight,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
now I guess I am into something, right? Is about 2.75 ounces. If you want more thickness, make 2 of them.
Yeah.
But you really got to get it. You got to smash it down.
Yeah.
You have to have one of those things, and
A press.
it has to be that. It better be real hot. The thing you're putting it in.
Yeah.
And one of the techniques, like the one I had today, because I wanted to be ready, I needed my nutrition. So the one I had today, I just made my little like meatball,
Right.
sprinkled some salt on it, put it in the pan, immediately put some raw onions sliced thin on top of it. Now it was going to spread out, including the onion. That was all right. Smashed it. By smash, I don't mean hit it. I just mean really press it down. And man, a minute and 15 seconds on that side. As soon as I turn it over, I put a slice of cheese and one half of the bun on top of it. That other side, 30 seconds.
Damn.
But your pan's got to be hot and it's got to be real thin. Now, you're using thick meat, you got to do it longer. Yeah. But I have not been happier than eating those burgers.
I'm with you. About probably about 8 years ago, I was watching, maybe it was food TV, I don't remember, but there was something called like an Oklahoma onion burger or something. It had some state affiliated.
Actually, that's what it's from. They had 3 chefs on this YouTube thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they were places that specialize in making smash burgers.
Yeah.
And one of them was that guy from Oklahoma. And an easy way to do it, if you have a mandolin, right?
Right.
Just, you're only using like a quarter of an onion or a half an onion at most.
But it's a lot of onion.
And have it on the finest thing so it cooks fast.
Yeah.
Man, I've been happy with that.
I watched it and I was interested enough that I got the ingredients and cooked it. It was dynamite. I mean, now you got to make sure the onion gets cooked.
Yeah, so and this was as easy as could be. I'm not exaggerating on the time or the lack of it. But I would say this. Some people would say, Meyer, we always sort of felt that you could complicate anything. And now, you're getting all complicated about a burger.
Right.
Well, okay, I confess.
The other thing that I've tried recently is, and I know people hate this, but Costco sells Wagyu hamburger, which to me that's not the point, but it does have a lot of fat in it, whatnot. I've made hamburgers out of that. Man, it's good. I didn't make smash burgers because it had so much fat. I made them just a little bit thicker,
right,
so that not all the fat would render out. Man, is that good.
So from my standpoint, this is my way of saying you're wrong. Not really. No, I'm just kidding. But from my standpoint, Wagyu is great. Well, it's great no matter what, but it's great if you're having a piece of meat that's not ground. Because it's the way it's running through it. The fat's running through it.
To me, it kind of defeats the purpose of Wagyu.
Right. And I think
it was interesting.
The perfect meat for a burger, I think, is a mix of brisket, and if you could find it, a custom mix of brisket and short rib.
Well, like when we had our ultimate burger, didn't we grind that?
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
I knew I did that with someone. Yeah, we did that.
We ground our
Absolutely.
own hamburger meat.
Oh yeah, and it was fantastic too.
That's
Oh,
fantastic.
it was killer.
I think
It was.
Albrecht was there, wasn't he?
I think so. I
Yeah,
all I know is I know we did it and it was great.
it was fantastic.
So I would like to experiment with a smash burger using that kind of quality. Now, at Teeter, you can get a mixture of um, what is it called? Brisket and chuck.
That'd be all right.
That's good too because it's normally just chuck anyway.
Right.
So I think that's a good readily available mix.
Yeah.
Then sometimes you can do some wild stuff, like order from Wild Fork Foods because they have a bunch of
Right.
game,
Right.
which is kind of cool.
That'd be neat to experiment with. Yeah.
Like at the chili I did at the Cattleman's thing after the parade.
That's so
I
good.
told you I had a goat in it.
Yeah.
I had.
Yeah.
It wasn't a pure goat chili, but it had chorizo, goat, brisket.
Yeah. I mean, goat is a thing. When I went to India, goat is a regular on the menu.
I did the goat more because I just wanted the guys to have something that
That's
is
different.
unusual. But in Texas and in Mexico, of course, you get cabrito, which is goat. And so long as it's dressed up the way I want, I don't want any bones in it, which is a lot of times how you buy goat. But I'll have it. I think a taco. Man, maybe I didn't see cabrito tacos over at Chofita, but
I don't think I've seen them over here either.
I do. I've seen the lengua tacos, which
Oh yeah, tongue.
good.
The I used to have a guy that worked for me here. I think his family was from Central America, but I think he was actually born here, and he turned me on to those because like I took a couple of years of Spanish in high school, so I knew what it was. But I was like, man, I'm not eating like tongue. I'm not doing that. And it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. It just again, I've got to keep myself when I leave here. When I get to Grant, instead of making a left, I might have to make a right to go to La Chofita to get my dinner.
Yeah, that place. It's wild because like you have this little very humble food truck and then boom, there's the police department.
Yeah. Well, I'm okay with all that.
Oh, 100%.
Hey, I actually use that area in the back of the police department where you can exchange goods.
Oh, right.
And I don't mean like drugs. I mean, you can sell something on Craigslist.
And, right.
It's sort of a protected area.
It's a safe area.
It worked real well. I liked it. It was great. Anyway, that's it. Oh, so lately on my martinis, I just have one now. I like to. I've reduced my cocktail hour.
Yeah.
It's a nice one, but it's just one. But I'm really liking the blue cheese stuffed olives. They got them Murray's blue cheese stuffed olives at Teeter.
Yeah.
But I really like the ones they sell at Wegmans. They're real good. Yeah. They're real good. And I've got some at home.
I like to make my own when I can find the right blue cheese.
Well, I think you can always find the right blue cheese for that right at Teeter because they'll sell Gorgonzola, Blue Stilton, all that junk, and just buy, as you know, the biggest Queen olives you can get.
Yeah.
Take out that red stuff.
Yeah, get rid of that pimento.
Push in, get yourself a wrench and a hammer.
Well, I love it when you can see like the oil slick from like the blue cheese.
Oh yeah,
and the little blue cheese bits. Have you tried?
That's called a real dirty martini.
It is. Have you tried instead of a dry martini, a wet martini that has somewhat more vermouth in it?
Oh yeah,
I saw that in the Times the other day.
So the original martini recipes had at least, I think, 1/3 vermouth. And then, it was that way for a pretty long time. Then people started doing less and less. And then people would say, just take the bottle. Don't even open it, but wave it over the glass.
I tend to I tend to like them all. Now, I tried a wet martini, and I didn't like that as much as I like the dry martini. But I
Yeah.
do like a little vermouth in the glass, but not much.
Well, yeah, the one I made for myself the other day, I'd say a teaspoon in there,
Yeah.
but it was more than one shot of, it was a
Well, yeah.
bigger glass.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and it was made me feel special to put this. I had a real martini today, but then me, I have it on the rocks. Whereas, I know it's
What?
sacrilege. It's, I know that you all secretly do that at home. I know. So don't like, but Andy, you're right. It was not the right thing.
Well, who else is a freak about martinis is Alton Brown.
Oh yes,
And,
yes.
I don't know that I think he's a stirred martini guy and not shaken. Um,
I'm what's called a lazy martini guy. I just put it in, and then I pour this whatever else is going in there, and I don't even bother stirring it. Now, if it's a performance thing, no, even that, no, if someone, I'll ask them, maybe they're
Right.
fussy. And then, you know what I'll do if they're fussy? I'll never invite them over again.
You're
Get out of my
dead
house.
to me.
Get
Well,
out.
yeah, I like them shaken because I feel like it melts more of the ice and it provides a little bit of a buffer
Right,
for the gin.
right.
But yeah, that's the way I like those things.
So there was a time when you were smoking cigars
Mm-hmm.
and you actually had that great big humidor that you were able to get from
Oh, yeah.
Opera House and all that.
Yeah.
But you don't do cigars anymore.
I don't. I I always say that I do them occasionally because it just they hit me hard. If I have a cigar and a drink, that's it. I'm pretty much done
Right,
for the evening.
right.
That and Sarah hates them. So, if I'm like over at our secret clubhouse
Right.
and everybody's smoking cigars, and she basically just makes me go right into the back, undress, put all those clothes into the washing machine.
Man.
But they hit me hard, and I just, I enjoy smoking them.
Yeah, me too.
But-
Just one a week, that kind of thing. Cattleman.
Yeah, I was watching something came up on social media, an old Johnny Carson,
Right.
where they had what's that guy's name? He was a comedian, and he smoked a bunch of cigars during the day.
George Burns.
George Burns, and he said he had between like 20 and 25 cigars a day.
And I read something this past week. I don't know how. I thought it said 12, but it's possible.
Maybe it was 12, but still 12 is an extraordinary number.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes.
I mean, you're basically
Smoking all day.
all day.
Yeah.
All day. There's not even a little bit, I don't know, 5-minute break, something like that. And of course, Johnny Carson asked him, he said, I think at the time Burns was 92. And Carson says, like, what does your doctor think about that? He says, my doctor's dead. That was it.
George Burns and Gracie Allen.
Yeah. Yeah. But-
I bought a new cigar cutter.
Mm-hmm.
Where you'll just have to see it the next
Okay.
time you're over. It's really cool. And it's not expensive. Well, anyway, you'll
It's a
just
bit
have
of a
to see
gadget.
it. It's real cool.
Yeah.
It's real cool. It looks good. Works
Yeah.
real well. Oh, last thing I want to talk about, and then call it a day. I've been spoke with Stephen Kent lately.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still really an interesting guy,
Yeah.
and I've watched some of his snippets on where he's on some show, whatever the show is. I don't recall
Right.
it's Fox or BBC.
Yeah.
And I just think that a lot of times on those shows, in the context that he's talking and what he's talking about, it makes a lot of sense. I'm sure he and I don't line up on all things, but
Yeah.
you and I don't line up on all things.
No.
But yeah, I just think that he's a real good on-screen communicator, And I think he's doing a very highly professional job.
He is. And the other thing about him, the thing that I appreciate about him is that he is exposed, at a somewhat higher level to politicos and can maybe take that viewpoint and kind of boil it down for, folks like me and you who don't leave the Manassas.
Well, that or he has a far better sense of what people are thinking between 20 and 40.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we don't.
It definitely has a superior sense in terms of those things.
Yeah.
So, Andy, this is good.
All right, Rich.
I knew it would be.
Yeah, it always is, man.
One more time.
Yeah.
Adios.
See you guys later.